share how people work and share different ways to do it. Because that's, to me, one of the beauties about Avid is that it doesn't force you to do anything any one way. And so I'm always learning how other people do things, and I like sharing how I do things. It just allows us to edit the way that our brains work, and but also learn new things as well.
That's what I mean. In talking with editors, or the amount of time that I've shown editors Media Composer, you're using maybe 40% of what the software actually does.
Yeah.
But you're constantly learning, and the software is evolving and new things. So it is very important to share that. Let's see now. Yeah, advice for young professionals getting started in the business. When you started, did you go right from film school into editing? Did you apprentice? Did you was there any editor that you would love to work with to and I mean, it's not going to, I don't want you to slam anybody who you have been working with, but I mean, Michael Kahn, all these seasoned editors, do you look at their works and get ideas on how they edit to help you?
That's a good question.
And again, if you're not comfortable with answering or saying something, you don't have to.
I'll answer the first part of what I think of the second. After film school, I was an assistant for a long time, and I think that's an incredibly valuable part of the process, to learn how editorial works, to learn how to be an editor, not just mechanically, but emotionally and socially. I think those are things that cannot be taught in 4 years of film school, and something that honestly it takes a lifetime to truly master.
That's right.
Okay. There are, of course, masters I would have loved to work with, or at least observed. I guess.
It's all right.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to get
Do
specific.
you have any hobbies? There's a lot of editors that actually came from being musicians or even composers or music editors that moved into the visual part. Is there anything that you do outside of work that you feel makes you a better editor? It could be watching other people's works or going to movies or music or.
It was more that your question reminds me sort of more of like the hobbies I did before I edited were, as a kid, were highly creative, but I wasn't very good at them, like drawing and painting and other things. And it wasn't until I found editing that I felt enabled creatively, but not limited by like poor penmanship. I was able to use my brain to learn a tool that meshed well with what I wanted to do as an artist.
Do you have a preference, cutting to music, creating story, creating dialogue, and building performance? I mean, when you're cutting, a scene, and you might take a look at a scene, you're like, what can I do with this? And you build the performance. How does it feel when you make that right cut and you're just so happy? I mean, it's very fulfilling.
It is incredibly fulfilling. I think my assistants must find me crazy some of the times, because there's those moments when you're building a performance and you're working on something, and you get to a point where you're in, not only just in the groove, but found something. And I'll just maniacally laugh or clap by myself in the edit bay, and I'm sure they all like roll their eyes next door. But that's some of my favorite moments. It's just some of the joys of creating something out of all these different pieces that you've been given. And sometimes that means I love cutting montages. I love cutting the music. I also love cutting action on silent, because that is incredibly important. We all this comes out of silent films, and the language of visual storytelling, especially with action, needs to work that way too.
So just wrap things up, a couple last things. Again, we want to get people excited about Media Composer. Is there anything else that if somebody came to you and said, why do you use Avid Media Composer? Any other things? I know you hit on some of them. I don't know if there's anything else or.